and biscuits. Oh, those were good ones.
All right.
I don't know if I'm grossed out or envious.
All right, I feel better. You ready?
Oh my God. Hi. Sir cracks a lot just totally amazed me.
I could have done my feet too, but I'm not in the right position. Yeah, I can't do the toe. Like, I have to my toes. But...
You know how Bruce Lee is able to do the pop, pop, pop? I can do it with my feet.
Yeah, no, I have to individually do it. And it's painful for me to do it. I can do my ankles. And I can do, like, the little... I can't remember the little bone part on top of your foot, but I can do that too.
No, I can do my knuckles.
Yeah.
And I can do my thumbs.
But I just did, like, my chest and all my back and
like
my elbows.
You know, I can do my thumbs. I can get my toes. But anything else that pops and cracks on me is usually because I just got out of bed or I was sitting for too long. It's like old age stuff for me.
Right. Well, welcome back, everybody, to Gore to be Gore.
Yay!
Another
we got a
spooky month movie.
Yes,
event.
and we've got a shit show for you today.
Now, this one to me, and this, by the way, this is our second recording of this particular film because our computer decided at minute 17 on the last one to stop recording.
It was having a temper tantrum.
After a 20-minute of us just talking to nothing.
Well, here's the joy of this. This will probably be, I'm hoping, the last, but definitely the first time Drake and I have ever been divided on a movie.
Yes, this one is sentimental to me because growing up, my dad actually loved this movie. John Carpenter's Vampires. John Carpenter's Vampires, 1998.
1998.
October 30th.
And it oozes of the late 90s cliches.
Yes.
They're everywhere. Like 7-Elevens in Las Vegas. And Starbucks in Seattle.
Now,
they're everywhere.
Now, this is a great movie in the sense that it has its own unique situations to vampires that aren't your typical vampire things, which we'll get into. However, the movie, it's got James Woods.
For me, no, it's got James Woods in the starring role.
Yes.
Followed closely by Daniel Baldwin.
Baldwin, that's right. That was Baldwin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not a lot of people know Daniel Baldwin even exists. Most people know Alec Baldwin. But
I thought he did a great job.
There are dozens of Baldwin brothers who are all in movies.
Yeah.
And when you see them next to each other, yeah, dark hair, the really pretty blue eyes. And when they were younger, my Lord, what little heartthrobs. What ruined it for me was James Woods.
And it was, and it's not like the acting was bad, but it was now when he did his jokes in the movie,
when he was
natural.
Punny and funny,
it was natural.
That was James Woods.
Yes, but throughout the movie, you just can't take the guy as a hardcore vampire
piece of
slayer.
candy.
Piece of candy.
Okay, here's the deal. Jack Crow, his character, is supposed to be this badass, hardcore vampire hunter.
With his team.
But James Woods looks a bit more like PTA driving a van.
Dad of the year.
2.5 children, white picket fence dad.
And so the movie starts off, they're going to this nest where rule number, I think it was 7, if you find the nest, you find the master. So they're hunting these nests for what they call goons, which are the vampires.
Which is a gathering of a bunch of vampires. It's like Vampire Coven.
In which the way that they did that, they're very organized. Everybody has their stations going in.
Not gonna lie, that was really cool. They're like the anti-vampire SWAT team, and they had this
communication
like,
set up.
Yeah, it was like a bug out vehicle, loaded with some pretty neat. And I'm not gonna lie, When Carpenter thought these
Weapons
contraptions
and, yeah.
up, oh my goodness, well done.
They look pretty neat, and like the crossbow had a cable hooked up to it that went directly out to the Jeep. So then when they stuck some goon,
the winch would pull them back out and into the sun. This is where problem number 2 came up for me. When the vampires are dragged out into the sunlight,
which is typical, but
this was my major issue with it, and Drake didn't seem to mind it, but again, he stated this has sentimental value to him. To me, the explosion of said vampires looked very similar to that of Roman candles on 4th of July.
it's pretty neat.
Like somebody just decided we're going to stick some Roman candles in our pockets, a couple up here, and
flames. And it's not like fire. No, it's like a torch out of like one section of their arm,
and they're colored, so it looks all that much more like a Roman candle. To me, it looked really cheaply done.
I thought it was
But and watching Drake watch the movie, it was. I felt like I was watching a small boy witness the movie for the first time. He actually went like this a few times.
Got excited for different parts coming up, and so they're dragging all these goons out. They end up getting, I think, 9 in the first nest.
Mm-hmm.
And after the father, the pastor blesses each one of the vampires as they are burnt. They collect the skulls at the end, which I thought was pretty cool. So they've got 9 vampire skulls on top of the Jeep, but no master. And this is where I think is unique on how Carpenter did the master vampires, is that the master vampires buried themselves away from the nest. I thought that was uniquely done because as the vampires are older, like this one particularly was 600 years old.
They claimed him, they hinted at this particular master being Dracula.
But never said it.
Yeah, they never once, copywriting, they never once actually said it, but they heavily hinted at it.
As him being the original.
Now, it's the history behind this particular vampire that I thought, personally,
was unique.
Was very unique. They explained him as having been a priest.
Yep.
Who they...
raised in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And ended up getting an exorcism.
They were under the impression he was possessed, so they conducted an exorcism, but they didn't complete it.
Which left him in between that nether realm of the demon basically taking over the dead body of this particular person.
Sort of like the priest himself and this demon kind of merged.
Right.
It was almost like he was there, but he wasn't there. Like he took on that personification.
Another thing I liked about the movie was their focus on gravity with the movie, because one of the scenes, and this is the first battle scene against this master, is right at the beginning of the movie. They're in this hotel with a bunch of hookers and shit like that.
They're throwing this huge party.
Go away party because they're leaving the next day, and one of the hookers goes into James Woods' room, and there he is, up on the ceiling, kind of like bat form,
like wedged up in a corner, like when you see that ominous spider, just lurking. The best part, and this is my big complaint with a lot of vampire movies, they do not adhere to gravity. His hair hung forward.
Yes.
His trench coat hung forward. They actually paid attention to that.
And it gave it a creep vibe.
It really did. I'll give it that. And out of the whole movie, my favorite characters happen to be Baldwin.
Yep.
Because I think he played the badass better than James Woods. He should have had the lead, in my opinion. And I liked the vampire.
Yeah.
He had this really trad goth kind of look to him. And then, of course, you throw in that trench coat and you get that sensation of, you're going to go shoot up a school. But he had that classic appeal that vampires were, supposed to have. Bela Lugosi began that, where there was kind of this worldly knowledge, wisdom, and sex appeal. He had that while at the same time still kind of having that I don't want to sit next to you on the bus vibe.
And also a badass kind of, he was a stocky dude. I mean, he was super tall.
Really tall.
Super tall and big. And it just added to the creep factor that made him, I'm glad they made him the master vampire.
He loomed over the other actors.
Yes.
I don't think anybody else really matched his stature.
No, he was big. And one of the other things was he didn't talk very much throughout the entire movie, which I also liked.
But when he did,
it was very...
the lines...
It was
almost imperative to listen, otherwise you're going to miss a part of the story.
And he had like almost a ghost voice, kind of. It was
really
very whispery. Yeah, that.
Yeah, almost airy.
And the makeup.
Like he was tired.
Kind of, yeah. And the makeup that they did with him, I thought, again, was another unique thing that they did because...
It was simplistic.
It was simple, but it darkened the sides and top of his face and kind of went lighter, kind of like what we thought...
They were like purple veins.
But almost striped-like, which made it appear as a virus kind of taking over the body. Then
it did have kind of a viral look to it. Yeah. But it's not the first time I've seen it, but it is the oldest movie in which I've seen it. Okay. I've watched, don't judge, I really like Vampire Diaries. I've watched True Blood, which, I'm sorry, Vampire Bill. What is sexy about Vampire Bill? Oh, Bill! Oh, Bill! Yeah, exactly. But I've also watched a lot of the Supernatural show, and each one portrays their vampires quite differently.
Yes.
But this one, I don't know, it had a very original kind of feel to it, like again, the first in their field.
Very unique. Now did, again, reek of 90s, movie setting, because you had your fight scenes and stuff that all was very 90s. But
the discussions, the jokes, it was really cliche.
And what was crazy was it also had where the priest, a cardinal that Crow is originally working for,
yes,
ends up turning against the church and is going to allow the master to make him live forever, because the master ended up finding the black cross that was used in his original exorcism.
Now he has to have a head of a church, a priest or something like that, in order to complete said exorcism.
Yes. And
completion of this exorcism gives him the right to walk during the day.
Yes, but only him.
Yes.
That's what another thing is unique. It's not worldwide spread throughout all the vampires. It's only him.
Which then provides him additional power.
Yes. But I thought that was, again, this movie had...
It was interesting.
It had unique parts, even though very cliche for the 90s, but it had its own unique story that I thought was good. And again, growing up, my dad loved this movie, and I liked watching it, James Woods or not.
Ooh, piece of candy.
So, I personally am giving this a 3 out of 5 because it's not the best vampire movie, but to me, it's not the worst. I actually like watching this movie, and I will continue to watch it. So
I have seen far worse.
Yeah.
Blood and Donuts.
That was horrible.
That was awful.
That
had to have been by far the worst vampire I've ever... Yeah. Don't do it.
Blood and Donuts.
Amazon Prime.
Yep.
How brave are you? It was not the worst I had seen. However, I am only going to give this a 2. And I'm only giving it a 2 for a couple of basic reasons. I loved the look and the presence that the actor who portrayed the master vampire, I liked that. I thought they did a really, really good job. And Daniel Baldwin. Yep,
and he played a really good part throughout the whole movie because he's the partner of Mr. Crow, and ends up, I mean, throughout the movie, you end up relating and
you see him have the most character development.
Yes.
When he first begins, he's very anti-vampire. The hooker mentioned earlier, is attacked by the master and begins to turn. They then decide they're going to utilize this poor girl as a tool because she has a telekinetic link to the master, can tell the hunters where the master's at, what's going on, what's the next move.
Right.
She attacks Baldwin's character and bites him. This is where you see major character development begin.
Completely, right then and there.
Prior, he was extremely abusive to this poor girl.
Yep.
Within a few scenes, he softens to her. He understands. It's not what she asked for. She didn't want this. She was attacked.
Yep.
It was forced upon her, and suddenly he's seeing things from a different point of view. And eventually, towards the close of the movie, the boy gets the girl.
Yeah, they ride off together as vampire couple, and
I think it's the first time that the lead man didn't walk away with the lady.
yeah, he walked away with the priest.
Oh, there are so many jokes there. But we're not tasteless.
So again, 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5. That's our take on it. If you guys have seen the movie, let us know what you think in the comments.
And if you're just looking for something late 90s cheesy to kind of pass the time,
it's a good one.
Go for it.
It's a good one.
We would love to hear what you guys thought of it.
So, thank you guys very much. Appreciate you.
And that was John Carpenter's Vampires from 1998. Thank you so much, and every single one of you have absolutely pleasant nightmares.